Alright, hello to all my guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there across the electrical ocean. This is Jazzman, and we are back with another game, and this game has been going on for a few minutes now. I'm a bit late, but I wanted to hop in as fast as I could because we do have TinyDragon, one of the greatest, the oldest and greatest players the game has ever been graced with, playing against ThePoxLegend, playing full faction Kathir Forest versus Tiny's full faction Sundered Lands. And I haven't gotten a game of TinyDragons yet, and I knew I couldn't miss this chance. So I decided to hop in, and wouldn't you know it, Tiny is playing Aspect of Violence cheese. Come on, Tiny, you're better than this. Anyway, I guess we'll see what Tiny can do with the Aspect of Violence. We've got, on the ThePoxLegend side, we have Elven Illusionist, who has been given protection, it seems like. And the Rock Eater, obviously indicating that. So protection going down. So she will be able to handle this Vanguard for the moment. And meanwhile, Aspect of Violence, moving in against these Wisps. Well, this one, the real one, and then this one is an illusion. This one, being real, is threatening to contest topside, to which Tiny responds with a Valdekai Sweeper, nice and cheap. And we also have a Chained Fae up here for the ThePoxLegend, buffing every wizards and fairies, those Chains of Amareth. So a few more illusions coming out here for Elven Illusionist. Elven Illusionist popping out the Elf and the Archer Illusions. And for those wondering, you can actually tell which champions are real and which ones are fake by the upgrades. So you'll notice that real champions have the little yellow arrow over its selected upgrades, which illusions do not have. You see, they have no upgrades. Even though they'll show with upgrades, they don't actually indicate which upgrades are which. So that's a good way to tell if you're ever curious about finding out which champions are real or not. And illusions, I feel like illusions are really deserving of a rework for that reason, simply because they don't really serve their purpose of deception. They just sort of exist to get in the way and eat up AP and be annoying roadblocks for things. So I feel like at some point they could really do with an update. But meanwhile, this real Wisp decides to contest top against the Sweeper. Probably a good move. Sweeper can't really fight back. It's not a combat unit exactly. Although it can try, which it does with a sweep. But I feel like Tiny will definitely have to deploy something, or at least move one of these champions back to deal with that Wisp. As Aspect of Violence sits there in the middle, just wrecking everything. Of course, Wisp is actually a pretty good champion to deal with Aspect, simply because of one with Nora, sort of nullifying the multi-3 stacking shenanigans that Aspect can do. So we actually have a Mutant Doctor for Tiny, dispelling the protection offered by Elven Illusionist here. So that will allow Aspect of Violence to equip Dragon God's Staff and get at least one hit here, probably after a drive. Or nope, doesn't feel like driving. He's going to get off 2 hits from Elven Illusionist, from the Vanguard instead. And then finish it off with Draxar Morph, it looks like. Yep, and there's the War Banner. So you can probably just hit twice with Vanguard there. Yep. And then grab the Globe. And at this point, don't really see a good way for ThePoxLegend to come back. He has the top font, which is something. And then, of course, on this map, the mid font doesn't mean too much positionally. But, I mean, you're going to have to deal with that Aspect at some point. I mean, it's already like 12 speed, 25 damage, thanks to the scaling Zeal. And Dragon God Staff on it means you can't even CC it with something like a Blinding Flash or a Brambles, any of Kathir Forest options, although Mind Wipe Aura could potentially be an option. Or Reclaim. Kathir Forest does have access to those things. Yeah, so we've got Wisp sitting in the top font as ThePoxLegend decides to pull back with his champions wisely, getting out of hit range of that Aspect of Violence. Basically, so the way you'd want to deal with Aspect of Violence ideally is to kill it before it gets to this level. Easier said than done, of course, in a lot of situations. but the fewer hits you can take from it to have it, ramp up, the better. And if you can CC it, I mean, I know Dragon God Staff is always an option for SL, but they might not always have it revealed, or, it might not be an option for other reasons. So if you can put like a negative equip on it, something like an Ethereal Shackle or an Earth God Sigil to give it lumbering, just anything to slow it down really and prevent it from ramping up so fast. But Tiny actually drops the Dragon God Staff and instead chooses to equip an Indignation, giving Aspect Energy Thief. So basically he's just feeding it AP now, and Aspect going in for a kill on the Illusion? Huh. Alright. So he kills the Illusion, and also gets an attack onto the Wisp. There's no way Tiny thought that was the real one, right? Right? Well, Tiny tried to cast a spell on Aspect of Violence, but in Aspect of Violence has warding. So, I don't know, maybe Tiny's a bit rusty. I know he's been gone for a few weeks, I would say. I haven't seen him around recently. So maybe it's just rust. Maybe he did think that was the real one and forgot to check the upgrades. And come on, Tiny, you're making me look bad here. I was explaining how great you are earlier, and now you're just doing stuff like this? Come on. So anyway, we got Garu Chosen doing a little Magic Nova here. Not hurting his Wisp because of Magic Eater, but decreasing actually the defense of that Aspect of Violence. Throne of the Circle, of course, being the provider of said Magic Nova. So Wizard deck here for ThePoxLegend, as if it wasn't already obvious. And I think this Wisp cannot get off a Nova and 2 hits, but it can get off 1. Can get off like 1 Nova and then 1 attack. Would probably be good to put an attack into it just to prevent the life siphon. And oh wow! Now see, I'm the one messing up. It could get off a Nova in 2 hits. So actually, he might actually get the kill here on the Aspect. And even if he doesn't, the Inhibited will prevent the healing because Dragon God Staff is no longer equipped. So Tiny being, I guess, a little reckless with his Aspect. I'm thinking he tried to cast Ferocity of Kane Terrace on it. But instead, he just ends up having it die to a Magic Nova from the portaling Chain Fae. And then ThePoxLegend grabs the globe with one of these illusions. So yeah, it looks like actually Tiny is not doing too well here. He still has his top font contested. The Sweeper losing as expected to the Wisp. Yeah, Ferocity of Kane Terrace on that Aspect there would have probably been the play, assuming that Aspect did not have warding, which I guess Tiny forgot about being gone as he has been. So we have Collective Warden coming in for boost on all these wizards. And ThePoxLegend probably able to come back here in this, assuming Tiny doesn't, deploy a second Aspect and play with it a little smarter than he did with the first one. And then we've got Drive taking out an illusion. So illusions can be killed using pretty much any ability that targets them. So Drive being a good example. And we have Netmaster coming in for Tiny to help deal with that Wisp. Of course, Wisp, one with Nora is really annoying when something like a Wisp is, or a Skyshear Pegasus or Gakal is sitting in your font and you only have limited options available to help deal with it. With Sundered it's kind of easier since they do have a lot of alternate damage types, and sometimes you can do stuff like Dragon Claw to give it an alternate attack, which will bypass one with Nora. But I do feel like that Wisp will still be there for at least a few more turns. Meanwhile, ThePoxLegend drops Menelaus to deal with these other champions of Tiny's. He does still have mid-font, so it's not like there's like any Nora disadvantage for Tiny, but still having that font contested puts him on more or less equal terms with ThePoxLegend right now, as far as Nora goes. And I'm thinking that he'll want to pick up that Dragon God Staff before it gets sniped down by Menelaus or the Conclave. And turn goes back to Tiny here. Mutant Doctor probably going to make his way over to the Ruthless Netmaster for some buffs. Using Mutate on a champion with mutation gives extra benefits in the form of charges, so Netmaster will be able to mutate up faster than he would otherwise normally. And Skizik Drummer coming down. So Skizik Drummer at mid gives Tiny the option to Battle Drum and give everyone some global AP. Very nice. That'll help him deal with that Wisp there. So, yep. So Hugh Laurie, the Doctor, does, in fact, glare derisively at his patient, the Netmaster, smartening up his damage. And that actually allows him to take out that Wisp with the help of Sweep. Because Sweep, as a non-basic attack ability, gets around one with Nora. And I feel like that was a perfect kill, I believe. So he actually got kind of lucky that Mutate gave him damage instead of one of these other stats. So Tiny gets back his font, and once he gathers that Wisp Globe, he should be in a good position to weather the incoming storm of ThePoxLegend's range champion advantage here. And I've seen this come up a lot. Menelaus, usually there's basically two camps when it comes to players. There's a lot of people who swear by Debilitate, who enjoy having the 7-range debuff, and then there's another faction, people who really enjoy having Healing Mind on Menelaus, as his 8 speed basically allows for a double tap almost every turn, giving some potent healing as well as the Illuminate. Personally, I find Debilitate to be a little more useful, but that's just because whenever I play KF, which isn't often, I tend to not really go for the supporty healing sort of type champions, I guess, as much as other Cthulhu Forest players do. But anyway, we have Wisp in the font. Sorry about that. We have Wisp in the font. And it still does have 21 HP, but you've got to factor in that Battle Drum buff. So I'm thinking he might actually kill that Wisp with some kind of spell. Even through the spell resistance, I think. 21 HP is not a lot, especially when you have Drive Battle Drum available to you. So what is Tiny going to do? Trying to get inside the mind of Tiny is a daunting task at the best of times. Even in his rusted state, I'd wager he's quite a bit better than the majority of the player base. But you never know. He's obviously, beatable. We've all seen him lose. He's prone to error. Or, sorry, he's capable of error, not prone to it. But we'll see one hit here by the Vanguard. And I'm thinking that the Morph will finish off that Wisp. Another perfect kill. Grab the globe, and I guess just fend off the Garu Chosen. I feel like Chosen's going to get in that font some way or other, and then Menelaus is just going to sit back, poking things with Debilitate. Meanwhile, the Elven Blade Master Illusion will also have to be watched so that it doesn't contest top font with a relic. And I'm thinking that at this point, Tiny will, he didn't deploy. Well, he deployed the Drummer, was his last deploy, but I feel like something, whatever's coming next. Okay, so he deploys a Brood Queen. I was going to say whatever's coming next will probably be something big. And Brood Queen, I mean, she's 80 Nora now, so I guess that's kind of big. But I was thinking more along the lines of another Aspect or maybe an Akakios. Brood Queen, probably not something Tiny would necessarily want here, but again, Invigorate, definitely going to be providing that Netmaster with all the mobility he needs to sort of wreck face on these squishier champions. So the Chosen, as expected, moving into the font for a little Magic Nova action, followed by a basic attack, and I'm thinking the target here will be Morph. At least that would be my preferred target, since she's probably the squishiest, as well as she's carrying the Dragon God staff. So killing her will not only kill, get rid of her Nora, but the Nora invested into staff as well. Unfortunately, fortunately I should say, Menelaus grabbing the crown, or the Covenant I should say, letting him attack at 8 range instead of 7. He's going to get a double tap, although I think ThePoxLegend is a little bit short of the kill, thanks to the Sundered Lands bonus. No, he's actually going for the Vanguard. Alright. That's fine too, you want to get rid of that drive option. And, I'm feeling like Tiny is not quite able to finish off that Chosen without spell help. Netmaster is still quite a ways away from the action down at this mid-font. You could potentially invigorate the Doctor and have the Doctor get an attack if he needs to. Does still have the Battle Drum available as well. And I actually took Alliance on the Drummer. So I'm expecting him to be running a few other Skizik in here. So there's the Drum, and thanks to that Alliance buff, as well as the other stuff from, like, the Doctor's Augment, he has quite a bit of damage on him. So he's going to get Benediction, as well as Driven by the Vanguard, I'm assuming. There's actually Quicken on the Netmaster, so we have Netmaster going in for 2 hits onto the Menelaus. Pretty dangerous. Any spell, right? Really. Sandstorm, Acid Storm, Firestorm, Tornado. Any of those would be good enough to finish off the Mena. Or he'll just drive the Doctor. Have the Doctor get the kill as well. That works. Why spend Nora when you don't have to? And actually, Tiny coming back into this game pretty well. After that initial overreach with the Aspect. Potentially that was his plan all along. Imagine that. Throwing away his own Aspect just to give ThePoxLegend some false hope. Only to have it turn the tables back on him at the last minute. So there's a Stellar Horizon dealing some AoE damage, as well as healing up his Chosen a little bitty bit. And then Conclave Warden finishing that Vanguard off so that the Illusion can grab the globe. I would assume he would send the Illusion also to grab this globe, rather than risk his Warden by grabbing it. But Warden does drive the Chosen, as well as deploy a Relic, banner I should say, up in the top font. And that will give him more than enough damage to take out that Morph. Not quite able. Now, see, what he could do is actually he could drive it, and then Dragon God Staff 2 damage at the start of turn would allow for the kill, just to save a bit of AP on his Chosen. Of course, that would allow the collection of the globe by Tiny rather than by him, the ThePoxLegend. So instead, he decides to ensnare that Drummer to keep that globe for himself potentially. So I'm thinking the Netmaster will somehow get down there and finish off that Chosen with a Dictate or maybe another Mutate. And then Chain Fey doing a little harassing magic turret attack on that Doctor. Sort of more out of spite than anything else. I think, oh, actually that's neat. So Valdekai Sweeper coming in with the sweep onto Tiny's own units, giving him extended threat range on that Netmaster. Very smart. So that will allow him to Dictate and get 2 hits off onto that Chosen. Which will, of course, lead to the kill. So very nicely played by Tiny. And then meanwhile, the Drummer will cap the font, as well as grab the Chosen Globe. And then, Doctor can finish off that Illusion, and then it'll just be Conclave Warden isolated and by itself versus all of Tiny's other champions. So Tiny in a really good position here, despite the early losses, and there's actually a Confuse onto the Warden, followed by a Tornado. Fortunately, spell resistance preventing that kill. So actually, he's going for the Warden here. Yeah, so spell resistance preventing that kill as well. He'll be on 3. Unless, Brood Queen. Actually, I wonder if Tiny realizes that Brood Queen got buffed with 1 to 2 range. He's probably looking at Brood Queen and still seeing the 1 range that it used to be. But he could finish that kill if he wanted. Yeah, and other than that, he doesn't have any anymore. Oh, he puts Tiny, no. Okay, so he didn't notice the Brood Queen 1-2 range buff. That's okay. I've made that mistake before with Draco Lich as well, not realizing that he had 1-2 range. Now, some of these range changes are a little weird. So he basically gave Bloodthirsty Blade to the Queen for a 2 AP, like for multi-attack, when he could have just attacked it from, 1-2 range. But anyway, we got Chain Fey portaling back a little bit, getting out of the Fire Oak aura range. And then we have the Illusion grabbing that globe. The Guard Chosen here actually able to get both of these globes for himself, cap the font. Of course, he will just die to the Netmaster the next turn, but, the small victories. It's the small victories sometimes. Caps the font, and we still have yet to see any hatchlings from Tiny. Brood Queen having used her AP on more important things. So Mutant Doctor finally getting rid of that illusion. And yep, Netmaster getting invigorated, finishing off the Chosen, and then walking into the font. So Tiny regains the mid-font that he had lost previously. And it's basically Netmaster here versus the world, as I really don't see a way Brood Queen can get any kills before she gets popped by her own Bloodthirsty Blade. ThePoxLegend keeping himself out of harm's way as much as possible here. And also deploying a Rage of the Circle. And Rage of the Circle, also the recipient of a nice buff from the KF patch. Getting vulnerable, but also losing his signature Limbo ability. So now, he does not drop a Fleshblight zombie for the enemy when he dies. And now it's just sort of like a good glass cannon style champion for wizards. Coming in with Manic, Hostile. And then Doctor confusing that Twisted Fire Oak. Getting rid of its upgrades. Except it still shows the upgrades here. Is that what happened? Okay, well, he's confused, but the upgrades are still showing. I guess that's an observer bug, maybe? Anyway, so Fire Oak has no upgrades now. And we also see a second Netmaster coming in. Tiny actually doesn't grab the Nor Globe in the back there. Okay, now he does with Brood Queen. Wanting to keep his Netmaster positioned as aggressively as possible against these encroaching champions. And I'm pretty sure Paralytic Feedback is an option for Rage of the Circle, but ThePoxLegend did not elect to take it. And okay, so I'm wondering why Confused didn't actually take away the Fire Oak's upgrades here. That is strange. It still shows the condition. And there was no cleanse that I saw, so is that a bug? That's got to be a bug, right? Maybe someone in the comments can point that out. But we have Rage of the Circle moving in, probably for another Magic Nova. Twisted Fire Oak doing a Flame Nova, so everyone's inhibited now. Then that baby taking a hit from the Magic Turret. It's actually not quite enough to kill it. So that baby will live to explode another day. And I'd imagine, like, he'd try to move that baby... he's never going to be able to catch the Chain Fey due to Portal, but, just sort of position it this way so that he can delay any of ThePoxLegend's other incoming champions. And what was that spell? Cancel Magic, I see. So Tiny canceled Magic against an Escape Magic cast by ThePoxLegend. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. I'm thinking he put Escape Magic on one of these two champions. Probably the Fire Oak, I would guess. But that spell was cancelled, so instead he decides to cast a Memento, which raises everybody's defense. Probably not going to be enough to save the Fire Oak from his demise at the hands of these Netmasters. Unfortunate for him. And then incoming, the Sweeper actually decides to sweep, doing a bunch of knockback damage there, as well as shattering that previously equipped Bloodthirsty Blade so that Brood Queen is no longer under its effects. meaning she will not die at the end of 6 rounds. She will die when she feels like it. And Doctor living just enough to finish off that Rage of the Circle. And at this point, Tiny has pretty much got the game won, I would say. He has a few low HP champions, but these Netmasters are a force to be reckoned with, and there he goes. He takes the game. So well played to Tiny, well played to ThePoxLegend, and thank you all for watching. Have a great day.